Good morning, everybody. So today I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that I use to make my photos pop. You see, my images I sell online so that I can have money to travel, so I need to make sure that my photos stand out amongst all the other ones that are out there. Now, a couple weeks ago I took all of you on a little camping adventure. We went out to the Grand Canyon, first master of photography, but then I went to a really cool place called White Pocket. Now, the thing with the White Pocket photos is I had to do some work on them. It was a wonderful location, but I was just not getting the lighting that I wanted. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a couple of the tricks I use to really make those images pop. So we're here in Lightroom, and this is the image that we're going to be working on today. Now, I like this image for a couple of reasons. Number one, we've got a foreground element, and that foreground element is actually a reflection of this rock formation up here. I also like all those leading lines that's in the sandstone down in this area, and they just kind of pull the viewer up to from looking at the foreground element. They pull the viewer up to the peak. But a few things here that we're gonna have a little issue with. I like the warm colors here, the warm tones, but they're really not standing out here. So let's go ahead and start addressing some of the color issues I'm having right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the vibrance just a tad, and look at that. You can see that it's going to bring out a little bit more of the warmer tones here. Now I'm going to go down to the HSL, and let's go to the saturation, and I'm going to make those colors pop just a little bit. Increase the reds, the orange, and the not so much on the yellows. When I did the yellow, it looks a little dingy, so we're gonna not so much on the yellows. All right, there we go. So we have those warm colors, but it brought out a problem that I can see, and right here, that problem is all this blue. So what's happening is in the shadow, you can see we've got a perfectly blue sky up there. So in the shadow, it's reflecting the blue light, and the problem is that shadow is full of warmer hues. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the masking feature. We're going to be using a luminance range, a color range, and we're also going to use intersecting masks to grab just those elements so that we can warm them up a bit. So let's give this a try. I'm going to go over here to the masking element, or the masking tool. And what I'm going to do is, let's first of all get rid of the sky. So I'm going to choose the sky. Now, obviously, that's going to choose the sky. It's not exactly what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to invert right here, invert. And that's going to select the land. But it's also selected this area up here, which is not what I wanted. Now I'm going to change the color of the selection to green, just so it stands out a little bit more, because the default color is red. We're working with warm tones. Might be a little hard for us to see if we've incorrectly selected some areas. All right, now with this mask, I'm going to hit the ellipse, and I'm going to do an intersect with, and let's start off with a color range. And I'm going to go down here and select this range of colors, and let's see what happens. Good. So what you can see here is that we've eliminated a lot of the red up here. Now there's still some items in shadow up here. That's okay, because we need to make sure they're not reflecting blue either. The other problem here is I still see some green hues in here. So we're going to go over here to this mask. We're going to intersect this with a luminance range. And I'm going to select, again, this area. I'm selecting a little bit of lighter rock, a little bit of the darker rock. And there you guys can see that we've now removed more of the green from the lit up areas. Now I can also see that we're starting to unselect some of the red in the water. We're probably going to come down here and lighten this up a little in a different step. But it is reflecting some of the darker blue colors, so we're going to let it go. All right, now I want to warm this up. I'm going to hide the overlay. And over here in these tools, I'm going to go to the temp, and I'm going to warm things up. And take a look at that. We've gotten rid of the blue. or almost entirely all the blue. Alright, so I can see we still have some blue in this area and this area. So let me go back to my overlay. And I can see when I did my selection, we eliminated those. So we're going to have to go back in and fix those here in just a minute. But take a look at that. We can warm it up, and now it actually looks like it belongs there. Alright, let's go ahead and address what happened in this area here. I need to create a new mask, and I'm going to do a color range. And let's just select this kind of a bluish tint that's on there. Well, that took an awful lot, didn't it? That is way more than what we want. So we're going to intersect that with a luminance range. And again, we're going to try and isolate it down to just those areas. We're getting much closer now. Much closer. Let's hit the O key. And you can see we are still selecting some of the mask in here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to intersect this with a brush. And let's bring the size of the brush down, a little bit of the flow. Let's bring it down. I'm going to leave it feathered as well. And I'm going to paint just those areas right there. Alright, let's see if we can warm those up a tad. And there we go. Now I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to warm up the other mask just a tad bit more. Perfect. There we go. Alright, down here, I think we need to brighten up the water just a little bit. So let's go ahead and create another mask. This time I'm going to do we'll do a brush mask for this one. Because a radial mask, I don't want to do a radial because the water has a little bit of an odd shape to it. So I'm going to select just the water. There we go. Okay. Now let's see if we can brighten this up just a little bit. So I'm going to pull up the highlights a little and pull up the shadows. And that does bring it out. We gotta be careful. I don't want to make it look too unnatural. So pulling the shadows up too high, yeah, it's gonna look a little on the unnatural side. So just a tad, just to kind of make it stand out, draw the viewer's attention down there. Alright, now for this one though, it is a little bit too orange. So I'm gonna see if I can cool it off just a little bit. Remember, when you're working with the sliders, you want to have just very subtle movements on the slider. Alright, so truth be told, this is a pretty good image. But we got a little bit of glare going up here. So let's go ahead and add in another mask. And this time I am going to do a luminance mask, a luminance range. We're going to start right here. And that selected a little bit more than I wanted, so I'm going to do a color mask. We're going to intersect with a color range. There we go. Alright, and now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slightly lower the highlights, and there you go. Now we can see more of the detail in the rocks. Zoom in a little bit here. Oh yeah. Let's bring that mask back. And let's just do a little, there we go. Yeah, I think that was actually really good. Down just a tad. Okay, I think we got it. So, truth be told, there's something about this photo I really don't like. It's the sky. I was hoping for clouds because I was there during the evening and the morning hours. I wanted dramatic lighting. We didn't get it. Now we're in well, when I took this photo, we were in monsoon season, so I was expecting us to get rained on. It didn't happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little sky replacement and see if we can add that final element to make things pop. So let's go over here to Photo, Edit In, and we're going to send it over to Photoshop. Here in Photoshop, I am going to go up under Edit, and then I'm going to go down to Sky Replacement. Give it a moment to analyze the image, and it will detect the sky. Alright, now with our sky detected, I'm going to switch over to a cloud background that I think is going to work. Now we have to be careful here. You can see our light is coming in from the left, so I need to select a background, a sky replacement. Most of my sky replacements I'm actually shooting into the sun, so I got to be careful and choose a sky replacement that is going to look natural, that's going to work with this particular environment. Now for the sky I'm bringing up, I know that the sky is actually, or excuse me, the sun is actually coming in from the right. Well, you really can't tell with this particular sky background, but if that was the case, you can always flip the background and shift it over. But this isn't the one I want to use. I want to use a really cool one. Here we go. There we go. This one has a little bit more drama to it. As you can tell, we had a really interesting sunset one night. And that's where I got this particular background from. Now I'm also going to take the fading of the edges down to try and eliminate any artifacts that are around the edges. Don't go too much or I'll create some. And then also you may notice that the ground has changed a little bit. The color balance has changed. So Photoshop is going to try and change out the foreground colors to see if it can match the background. If I go away to the left, then we're going to have more of the tones that were in the original image, but of course there's a lot of purple hues in the sky, so I'm going to just bring it over, and that's going to make some adjustments to that color. We can also take a look at the lighting of the foreground. You see this is going to affect the edges. I'm going to try and make it match. I'm going to brighten up just a little bit on the edges. And then I can also make some subtle changes to the sky's temperature as well. The foreground's really not changing. I still want to keep it warm, so I'm going to warm up the background, the sky just a tad. There we go. And let's bring down a little bit of the sky's brightness. Alright, now I'm a little concerned about how dark it is getting down here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this image and send it back over to Lightroom. So File, Save. Here's the image coming back from Photoshop. So let's go ahead and do a mask, and we want just the shadow on the bottom of the screen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a linear gradient and just select this area down through here. Let's bring this down a little bit. Alright, press O to get rid of that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and brighten it up just a tad. Ah, look at that right there. Much better. Now I'm going to raise this up just a little so you can get a little bit more of the details in there without affecting what's on top of that. Take a look at that. Alright, now I'm going to increase the saturation just a tad because I think we might have washed out a little bit of the colors on the bottom. Alright, here we go. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that subscribe button. I have got a lot more adventures coming up for all of you and a lot more photography. Take care, enjoy your travels, enjoy your photography, and I'll see y'all next time.